Welcome to Ventor. This is the K1600GT. I rode a black one before, found it to be the smoothest motorbike I've ever ridden. Didn't really go very far, just went for a cup of tea with David really. Anyway, I'm out on it again, kindly loaned by Sycamore whilst my GS is in for some of the recalls overnight. So I've got to go back this morning and collect it. How have I been getting on this? Am I going to be swayed by its smooth and gorgeous engine? Is it going to be the ultimate tourer for going around Europe? Or am I better off staying with the GS or even going to the 1300 GS with its immense pulling power from low revs, lightweight ability, etc.? Anyway, let's get on the road and we'll see how we get on. Let's turn this beastie on. Fantastic screen. Oh, just listen to that. 6 cylinders to that. Lovely. Gorgeous 6-cylinder power, smooth. Well, it's just the magic that BMW have known for years with their cars, especially how a 6-cylinder engine is the ultimate in smoothness. And well, that sound, oh, I could listen to that ticking over all morning. That time I got riding. I've already ridden this bike quite a few miles to get home overnight, and I'm now heading across the fens to go back to Sycamore to get my 1250 GS back. And what's it like over a bumpy fen road? Well, this bike is very, very comfortable ride, but slightly joltier over the bumps than a GS with its active damping and all that sort of stuff. But we have got the worst roads in the UK here, but it's actually very good. It is very good, just not as good as GS. So the ride there isn't as good as my GS, and certainly not as good as a new 1300 GS. Smoothness of the engine, just perfect. And the quick shifter, the best I've ever ridden. I mean, it's almost like having an automatic gearbox. Just that little touch up and down with your foot. Oh, look, a shiny red train with graffiti. As I put it in first gear, it will hold sort of turned off automatically, and off we go, using a quick shifter for a nice gentle smooth progression. That's very nice. That alone makes me really like this bike over my 1250 GS. But actually with the new 1300 GS, with its quick shifter being very good, not as good as this, but very good, good enough, then that would be such an attractive feature to move over to this. This bike weighs over 330 or 40 kilograms. I'll put the exact figure up. So that's pretty much 100 kilograms more, at least more than the new 1300 GS. So all things considered, this has got more power, 160 horsepower, lots of torque, but it's a lot heavier. But then it's a lot more spacious. A rear seat for a pilion's going to be better. Got much better wind protection. I've even got a radio, which I did try, and it's quite good actually. You can hear it even with the helmet shut. Not too bad at all. Is it a gimmick? Yeah, it's actually quite nice. I think in the summer, with the visor open, yeah, the radio would be something nice to use while you're out and about, rather than earphones, especially if you've got a passenger you want to enjoy some music with. Now, I'm not showing you that because of the, as soon as I play music, it'll be, you know, copyright stuff. So you just have to take my word. It's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. Not a reason I would buy it or not buy it. Handlebars are a little bit lower, closer to me than the GS. My feet are a little bit higher up, but not uncomfortably so. Yeah, those things are more, it's sort of a more compact riding position, slightly more compact. Surprising, you'd think it would be a little bit more upright. I would say it feels slightly sportier than my GS. You just find a little bit on the bars. What's it like around town? Because of the weight around town, it's going to feel like, well, you're much higher up than riding, say, something like the Harley Davidson Road King, which is heavier than this, and didn't feel really that heavy because you're low down, you're sitting low down, all that weight's low, the seat's low, your feet are down there to hold you up, the weight's easy to handle. This, you can feel the extra weight higher than you know, it's higher up than something like that, but it's still as low as BMW can make it, the way the engine angles low down to try and keep that weight low. So I would say, as long as you're a confident rider, then the weight of this isn't really going to be a problem. Going through the town here, because of the smoothness of everything, it's actually quite easy. There's no jolting around. It's almost perfect application of throttle. There's no lash or anything like that. That quick shifter, you know, it's not really a problem. I think it's just something that, you know, getting off a GS onto this, it feels heavier, but when you've been on it a while, yeah, not really a thing, not really an issue. Just as I found out before, this bike's very happy. Go along at 30 miles an hour in fifth gear, 2,500 revs. No complaining, just smooth, just whirring of the 6 cylinders gently below me. Right, let's get out of town and get on some cross-country roads. This is a busy road. This is the A142, which is always a lot of traffic going both ways, so it's quite difficult to overtake, even filter. Just a bit annoying, really. Right, but we'll get past this car. Yes. Easy. The power's there when you open it up. Very, 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 very good. So I'm finding a little bit of buffeting on each side. I'm not sure if I really get that with the GS. A bit of rumbling around my arms. Not really in a complete cloak of calm. Not sure why that is. It is quite a windy day. Be interesting to see just what sort of protection I'm getting when I get back on the GS. How's that looking after me? Let's get it in top gear. What's it going to be like to overtake? That's on the stopper. Now, it's not quite as rapid as the GS in top gear, the new 1300 GS that is. Less punchy at lower revs than the new GS, but then it's 100 kilograms more. Of course, this is higher geared, so really 6th gear is, well, probably 5th gear is more like 6th gear. Yeah. in terms of RPM. So be careful what we're comparing. So we're going into 4th gear in this car. That's a little bit better. Just here it's more sheltered and I'm not getting the buffeting on my shoulders, so it could be the crosswinds that giving that buffeting on my arms. I've done a little check and 5th gear is still on this bike lower revving in terms of revolutions per minute than the 1300 GS or my R1250 GS. So really a true comparison would be to accelerate in 5th gear and overtaking, and I think then this gets into its power a little bit sooner. But nonetheless, day-to-day riding in top gear, you want to just overtake, that GS is always in the power, in the torque, earlier than this is. So just a little consideration to have in mind. I'm out in the most desolate fens here. So this is called the Ramsey 40 foot. It's a very old river that was drainage channel that was built around 1840, I believe, draining the fens at the very early days. Anyway, regardless of that, it's quite windy buffeting across here, and I'm getting this buffeting on both my shoulders. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut in a video I'm going to make a bit later on when I finish on this, on the GS, out in these same winds, and we'll see, is that buffeting my shoulders as much? So cue the R1250 GS. Well, it's the crosswind section here, out the fence. It's a pretty windy day. I can feel it buffeting me, but it actually isn't as bad. Not as ferocious as it was in the K1600GT. I feel like I'm in more of a bubble, and I don't get it. You think with its big screen, its proper serious fairing, it would be better. But certainly when there was no crosswind, it was very quiet. Here, I think slightly better with the GSA screen. So there we are. Interesting. Back to the 1600. Not quite sports bike, but quite satisfying nonetheless. Just listen to that engine. Oh. It's actually pretty impressive for such a big beast. It really is. I'm not sure how many miles to the gallon I've been doing, but actually I think it doesn't use a lot of fuel. Certainly didn't seem to drop a lot in the 100 or so miles I've done. Been going most of the time fairly steadily. I guess if you're on the Autobahn doing 100, which it can do all day, you're going to use a lot more. Oh, it doesn't get boring, does it? That sound. Straight, we'll open her up. Whoops. Well, certainly a bike you can cruise on at a decent pace today in the Autobahn. Unfortunately, we don't have Autobahns in Britain. But it's a very, very quick beast. Not quite the throw-in ability of a GS, but you would expect that for the 100 extra kilograms. I think really the home of this is bigger roads, not the little tiny single tracks that I sometimes end up on. Don't really want to be going down those on this too often, but for your big tour, your continental blasting roads like this, lovely. This is its own. Long distance mile crunching. Exactly what it's designed to do. But actually it can give you a few smiles at the same time with the cordless. In fact, more than you'd expect. Almost back at Sycamore. Well, I've enjoyed riding this. Nice to get my GS back with the bits done. And but this has been great. Would I buy one? Aha! I'm telling you, but it's a great machine. And I think if your plan was continental mile crunching, you couldn't get much better than one of these beasts. Anyway, let's get this back to Ian at Sycamore, and we'll see how we get on with the wallet. Well, getting back on the R1250GS, and after riding the R1300GS, you know, the K1600 is a fantastic mile munching bike. Ultimately, if you want to go around Europe on the smooth roads, cover those big distances, it's the choice tool. But most of my riding is in the UK, and often on little narrow roads, as you know, getting a bit lost. And the GS does that so well. A new GS would do it even better. So there we go, there's a conclusion for you. I'm not going to buy a K1600GT. Well, it's been great riding the K1600GT. I hope you've enjoyed the video today. Big thank you to Sycamore for loaning me this bike. And if you've enjoyed the video, please give me the old thumbs up. And subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hope to see you very soon in the next video. Thanks very much. Bye bye. Good to see you're still watching. So a question: what did I order if it wasn't the K1600GT? Please comment below.